check on to make sure that maybe they weren't connected to anything specifically. But anything connected directly to this case, it'd be hard for me to tell you until those get examined in a lab.
Tonight, a breaking news, stunning new clues in the mysterious disappearance of beautiful 17-year-old Paige Johnson. The teenage mom, who has a 2-year-old daughter, has been missing for more than a month now. Could a violent, and I mean violent, ex-con, who Paige thought was a friend, know what happened to this bubbly yet somewhat troubled teenager? Very pretty young girl. Do drops of what seemed to be dried blood found in his kitchen and car. 22-year-old Jacob Bumpus, this guy right here, was the last person seen with Paige. But detectives say he flat out refuses to cooperate in the investigation. Why? Phone records show these two talked all the time, but on the day Paige was reported missing, all contact came to a screeching halt. Cops searched this guy's apartment. They found a pair of latex gloves in the sink right next to what looked like drops of blood. Tonight, police have tested that red substance and found that basically it is not blood. But they did find human blood in one of the two cars Jacob drove. And tonight, they are saying it doesn't belong to Paige. The blood in the car belongs to a mystery woman. So who is that mystery woman? This is so confounding because we have almost 2 cases that have occurred from here. Police have also searched a massive 10,000-acre state park. You can see just how enormous the state park is. Jacob was in this park when he sent a text message at 4:18 in the morning the day Paige went missing. Once again, there seems to be a theme in this show tonight. Why is this guy out in the middle of nowhere at 4:18 in the morning? Unless he's camping. For some reason, police are flat out refusing to call this man a suspect or even a person of interest in the case. Why? Now, they did arrest him last month for possession of deadly weapons, drinking alcohol, and smoking pot, and lying to his parole officers about where he worked. So, parole violations, allegedly. But the big question tonight, where is Paige Johnson? I have got to begin with Paige's sister, Brittany Haywood. Brittany, thank you so much for being here tonight. I know you are going through hell right now. We want to do everything we can to help find your precious sister. And that's why we're going to ask you these questions. What are your theories about what might have happened to your sister that night?
Honestly, I have no idea. I would like to know. I'm just baffled by the whole thing and really confused.
Well, police have searched 2 cars that belonged to Jacob's mother and brother that he borrowed and drove. They did find a small amount of blood from the front passenger seat of one of those cars, the car owned by Jacob's brother, but it didn't match Paige's DNA. That blood belongs to an unidentified woman. Investigators basically have to find out now who is that unidentified woman. So they've almost got 2 cases on their hands. Let me get back to you, Brittany. What was the relationship between your sister and this guy, Jacob Bumpus? Were they boyfriend and girlfriend? And what was the last time that you saw your sister?
No, they were not boyfriend and girlfriend. They were just friends, and I seen my sister the day before.
So they were friends. She also had another boyfriend or an actual boyfriend as opposed to this guy?
Yes, her boyfriend is Ronnie.
Okay. So they were just friends. This guy, Jacob, is the last person known to have seen Paige. And here's what scares me, okay? Paige sent a text on the morning that she disappeared, just after midnight, 12:12 on September 23rd. She posts a message to a friend, quote, "Girl, I need to talk to you immediately." That's the last time that she's heard from. Do you have any idea, Brittany, what her concerns were that she said to a friend, "Girl, I've got to talk to you immediately," and that's the last we hear of her?
Actually, she said that to me, and when I seen it the next day, I just took it as normal conversation between her and I. Just like it was just something that she would say to me. I don't know what she needed to talk to me about, but...
Well, she might have been in big danger. Now, just a few hours later, about 4 hours later, at 4:18 a.m., this Jacob, who's the last person to have seen her, allegedly sends a text message from East Fork State Park, okay, in the middle of the night, 4:18, pre-dawn. Last question to you before we get more into this case. Brittany, do you have any idea, have you heard from law enforcement who he texted, what he said, and why on earth he was in the middle of a state park at 4:18 in the morning?
I have no idea.
All right, now here's my big issue. Danger deja vu. The last man seen with Paige Johnson, this guy has a long record of violence. In 2007, he committed robbery 2 times. He attacked a friend and stole his money after threatening him with a knife. 3 days before that, he robbed a convenience store, smashing an elderly clerk's ankle to pieces in the process. But guess what? He was able to plead guilty to lesser theft charges. And then he was sentenced to 8 years in jail. But guess what? He was paroled early after less than 3 years behind bars. Casey Jordan, criminologist, how many times do we have to hear the same thing happening before we start changing how we deal with people who are capable of violence? Why doesn't a sentence of 8 years mean 8 years? Why does it mean less than 3 years?
Well, because our prisons are absolutely overflowing. And the fact of the matter is, more money should probably be spent on assessing the very specific details of criminals and the specifics of their crimes in the past. This guy looks, in retrospect, like a pressure cooker. Each one of his crimes escalated in violence as well as severity, and it's absolutely conceivable that he could have actually ratcheted it up to assaulting or harming Paige, and that's why he's the #1 suspect right now. And I've got
They're
to
not
tell you,
even
they
calling
can
him a
figure out.
suspect.
Well, but that's
They're
just
not calling
technique.
him a
We all
person
know
of
that's
interest, even.
That's strategy to keep him close. They're trying to earn his cooperation, and the minute they call him a suspect, he has no reason to speak to them. If he just stays in jail on his parole violations, maybe he will start to talk.
Well,
It's worth a try. That's why they don't name him as a suspect.
First of all, I have to jump in and say, J.D. Weintraub, I don't buy this nonsense that prisons are overflowing. They're overflowing a lot of times with people who have not committed violent crimes because it's so easy to get somebody for a drug offense, for selling drugs. And yet the very people that jails were intended for, prisons were intended for, violent people who break the ankles of elderly clerks, instead of getting 8 years, they're released after just a couple of years. And guess what happens? What we're talking about now.
But by the same token, Jane, first of all, prisons are incredibly overcrowded, and there aren't enough spaces and there aren't enough people to maintain the jails properly. That's #1. But #2, the bigger issue here is you have somebody on parole that I think is being held. You don't call him a suspect or person of interest because it's a matter of semantics, but clearly he is the suspect. Jane, there was paint. It wasn't blood. It was paint. That's why he probably had latex gloves. And the reason that he's being held as a suspect right now is because of his past, not because of any evidence. That's not what our Constitution says. Our Constitution says that you have to have probable cause to believe a crime has been committed and that this person committed it before we detain them and take away their liberty. Here, this guy's thrown in jail just because he was on parole and for no other reason. He probably was trying to find her at 4:18 in the morning. That's what I think.
Are you kidding me?
No,
Oh,
I think
my
that he
gosh.
was really friends with her. He called her friend. He said that the parents are looking for her. The police are now looking for her. I wouldn't be surprised if he was trying to find her.
Well, let me go back to Brittany Haywood on this. Do you think that perhaps he is a person who, while having a history of violence, was genuinely a good friend of hers, had no romantic relationship with her, and had absolutely no reason to hurt her, and was trying somehow at 4 in the morning in a state park to look for her?
No, there is no way he was looking for her at 4 in the morning. He has everything to do with this.
Why do you say that?
I just know it. Why would you run when being questioned? There's no reason to run. There's no reason to lie.
Because he's on parole.
Cell phone towers.
Go ahead, Brittany.
Well,
Brittany, go ahead. Finish
he
what you were
lied
saying.
about dropping her off in Covington. He was never even in Covington.
So the last time she was seen, he claims he dropped her off in Covington, and you're saying, where'd you hear he wasn't even in Covington?
From the pings on the cell phone tower.
The cops told you he wasn't in Covington?
Right.
Yeah. All right. By the way, his attorney is invited on any time to give his side of the story. Again, we're not psychics. We don't know what happened. But let's go to a psychic investigator, Shelley Hale, who has been in contact with Paige's family. What do you make of this case in terms of what you've been able to extract from the family about this young lady? She's only 17, but she reportedly drank alcohol with this Jacob on several occasions. And I have to say, not to embarrass the family, but just because we want to get to the heart of it, she also smoked marijuana. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, there's a lot of finger pointing going on right now, and I just really want to support Brittany and try to bring awareness around anybody out there who might have seen something or heard something, maybe has been scared to come forward up until this point. We'd really like to have them come forward and talk to Covington Police Department and give a statement. You know,
Jacob
did say he...
We're not going to let this case go. Casey Anthony up next.